ISO 27001 Annex A 5.37 documented operating procedures. Okay, let's have a little look at what the standard wants, and I'm going to show you some quick wins about how you can go about doing this. So the definition is operating procedures for information processing facilities should be documented and available and made available to personnel who need them. What this is doing is, this is in the Annex A control, is cementing and referencing back to the clauses that we have already covered. So I'm going to call you out here and point you at the ISO 27001 clauses. 7.5.1, documented information. 7.5.2, creating and updating documented information. What this is saying is have documented information. Both of those guides, both of those tutorials are absolute pure gold in terms of what it is that you need to do. What this is saying is that you need that for your operations, right? So this is extending it and saying, okay, yes, you've got it for your information security management system. I give you it in the ISO 27001 toolkit, the ultimate toolkit for ISO 27001 certification, but you now need it for your operations. So what does that mean, right? At the highest level, every control that you have, every control that you implemented should be documented. We've covered this and we've covered the reason why. This is about having process maturity. This is the one where people fall over the most, right? The smaller you are, the more dynamic you are, early startup, early stage, you're doing stuff, you haven't written it down, you have to write it down. The standard is telling you you have to write it down, you have to document it. Those documents have to be structured in a certain way, as we've covered in the previous clauses, and you're going to look at those videos now to see what that looks like. Those documents have to be approved, distributed, and communicated to the people that need them. What this means is, if we have the process maturity, we have something documented about the way that we do something, we have to follow it. When it comes to the internal audit, they can only audit us against what it is that we say that we do. So we write our documented procedures to document and record what we do. Otherwise it's an own goal, right? If we don't say what we do when it comes the time for the audit, if we don't do it and it doesn't match, then we're going to fail, right? So we need to write these down. I give you guidance on this. You know, it doesn't have to be war and peace. It doesn't have to be pages and pages long. Think about simple process steps that you need within your documented procedures. You don't need massive diagrams, video diagrams, right? You can just be as succinct as you need to be. But the premise has to be that if somebody picked up that documented operating procedure, could they follow it? Is it clear enough that they could follow it? Do the steps within there provide sufficient detail for them to be able to follow it? What we need are procedures that when they're executed, are executed in the same way irrespective of who executes it, and the result is the same irrespective of who operates it. So the operation and the output have to be the same irrespective of the individual that's involved in it. That is about process maturity. If I was going to give you some things that you'd be looking at, every single Annex A, right? But what kind of things are we looking in here? You know, your backups, your scheduling, your installations, your configurations, your support, incident management, change management, software development, storage media handling, you know, capacity management. Everything that you have has to be documented to a degree that it can be carried out by somebody who picks that up and runs with it. You know, the guidance in the standard is when to document. Basically all the time, right? I can't see a situation when you wouldn't. Let me read you and give you the examples of what the standard says of when we should document. We should document when a procedure is performed by many people and needs to be done in the same way. When something is performed rarely and can be forgotten when it's needed again. When you do something new and if not done correctly, it will create a risk and before someone else is taking on the procedure, right? So that's always, right? So this is going to come down to your scope. This is going to come down to your statement of applicability, the controls that are in play. Your ISMS is already documented. The procedures are already documented. This is about you and your business operation. How do you do HR user onboarding? What background checks do you do? How do you do it? If we recall back to when we created policies, and you have policies for everything. Policies are statements of what you do. I tell you in policies what you need to do. You can translate those policies directly into processes by inserting the technicality of what you do, of how you do the what that I tell you that you need to do, right? Processes are statements of what you do. Policies are statements of what you do. Processes are statements of how you do it. My top tip when you're creating your documented operating processes is to include known exception steps. So don't just assume that the process is going to work. Have at least one exception step in there. What I mean by that is, you know, if you do a HR background check, don't just assume that it always comes back that they pass. Have a step within there that says, what do you do if they fail, right? An internal or an external auditor is going to look at it and say, that's all well and good. Give me an example of when that process didn't generate the output, when it generated a negative output. What are the steps that you would go through when it generates that negative output? So document your operating procedures. 27001, documentation heavy. I'm sorry guys, if it isn't something that you enjoy doing, you're going to have to do it. It isn't something that somebody like me can template for you because you all do things in a different way. I get asked this a lot, right? Could you not just give us templates? I'll give you an example. If I give you a software development process based on waterfall and you're an agile software development house, what benefit to you, right? What benefit to you? If I give you a process that tells you to do something that uses Microsoft and you don't use Microsoft, what benefit to you? And all you're going to do is argue with it and say why what I'm telling you to do template, it is wrong. So what I do is I show you what you need to do. I show you how you need to do it, but you've got to put in the detail, right? I give you the what, you do the how. You've got this. It ain't hard, right? Work through it. My name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja. That is the end of the Annex A 5 controls, right? Quite a lot more to go, but we finish off with those. So until the next tutorial, peace out.